Welcome everyone. This is LairTV. It's essentially just a Twitter Spaces between us and anyone else who is notable in the space or a NFT project, something like that. So, we thought that it would be a good idea if we hosted, BF Party. Then Bushido is our second guest. So, essentially, where it is possible, we try to do it with Twitter Spaces because we feel we have a bigger reach anyway, right? Naturally, our audience and your audience, the guest audience, are just collectively here together, and then we can kind of just, have a chat and then have answer some questions and stuff. So on our end, maybe some of the BF Party or Bushido's audience doesn't really know who we are. We're SVS. We've been around for quite a while now. I think we minted around September, I think.
So it's about 12th.
Yeah. So it's been about 8 months or something, if I'm not wrong, 7, 8 months. And yeah, we've been here for a while. We've been doing as much as we can. Some notable things about SVS: we have, partnered with some big people. Coinbase partner. We are also we partnered with Paramount Pictures for Scream movie that was back in December. That was received super positively by the NFT audience. Not received so positively by the real world audience. Unfortunately, some people were not so receiving of NFTs back in the day. But yeah,
I think they still aren't. I think like NFTs are still like a point of controversy. I still see it because from time to time I still contact people to try like hire one or two more people, whether it's like designers or like people in marketing, right? And if you angle the conversation in a way where like, oh, we're working in emerging technology, we're trying to build a game, blah, 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 etc. They're super okay with everything until you say it's an NFT, I think it strikes a core in people that don't really know too much about the space.
Yeah, I think it's just natural, right? For some people, when they don't really understand something too well, and they see other people are succeeding from it, they kind of get a little bit taken aback, call it luck or this or that, and then they don't like it very much, right? So for us, in our experience, like we've been on calls with some very big brands, some big real life companies, and it's always different when you speak to a big name who is like native in crypto or from the NFT space, and it's always so easy, don't really have to do much paperwork, you don't have to even spend that much time, just hop on 1-2 calls and it's easy. But when it comes to dealing with these real life companies and brands, it just feels like you have to jump through 1,000 loopholes to get something out of it, right? So with us, when we partnered with Paramount Pictures for the Scream collab, our community loved it. Honestly, most of the NFT space really enjoyed it, but yeah, it was received not so greatly by the more traditional community and fan base, especially for Scream. So that was kind of unfortunate on our end, but I think overall it was still pretty good, pretty cool, pretty good success on our. So like a lot of our holders got to attend like premium screenings and got custom posters for SVS and Scream and stuff like that. So definitely. And with you guys in BF Party, you guys are obviously taking the big approach for P2E, correct, Bushido?
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like a new approach for the space, but I think in terms of like where the strategy comes from, it's very well documented, right? It's just the free-to-play function, and then like how people make money off that is the popularity of the product, right? And then you can kind of like just make money off like the transactions.
Yep, for sure. So where did the idea for BF Party come from? I see the art style is quite unique compared to a lot of play-to-earn games out there. So, is this something that took a while to design and get your head around everything like this?
Thanks for saying that. It looks unique. I tried my best to kind of make it stand out to a lot of other.
Or was it just your vision? Were you the artist behind it?
No, I'm not the artist. But I kind of direct the way the artistic vision is going. So kind of like I have a hand in the conceptual design as well as the final product. So like I spend a lot of time reviewing that. So the main reason why I wanted it to kind of stand out from a lot of P2E games, because currently most P2E games, they aren't really heavily based around cosmetics, right? Most of the games right now in this space, they're based around kind of like DeFi gaming, right? So they're based around tokenomics and they're based around staking, right? The NFT itself like functions, I guess the game itself functions in a very crypto heavy way, right? Like it's very hard for me to call a lot of these P2E games because I feel like if you are a game, you need to have the traction a game should have, you know, which is it needs to be fun and you need to be able to pull people that try it into some sort of gameplay loop that is addictive. But I feel like most of these P2E games, they don't have any of that. It's just very crypto heavy. So I kind of wanted to shy away from that a bit, you know, to make something that is more gaming central, because at the end of the day, it is a game, right? Like your main job as the project lead should be to make the game fun and the gameplay loop addicting, you know? Like it's not to create like some sort of new ways people can use crypto, you know? And as for
at
like
the end of the day, right? Oh, sorry, yeah, but at the end of the day, some people see like if the whole concept of your game is I'm only playing it to earn money, then that kind of beats the purpose of the game, right? Play to earn. If you're only playing it and treating it as a job just to earn some back from it, it's kind of defeating the purpose, right? Where it should be a game. A game is for enjoyment, you know, something you can do, and then you know the P2E part is just like a bonus of it, right? Where you can earn something back in return from your time and effort in the game. So that's something I think that we've seen quite a lot in the past 1 year or so with the gamify bubble, or maybe phase. I would say that a lot of the games just kind of solely focused on that part, and then they kind of just swindled off and died out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's a game, right? And if a game isn't popular, like if a game isn't fun, it will die. You know, right? Like NFT games are exception to that. You know, like you might have the hype now, right? But at the end of the day, if the game isn't fun, then all these tokenomics and staking, they just end up in Ponzi schemes, right? So I do kind of see like that DeFi gaming kind of shying away from tokenomics the longer, well, like the longer this industry continues to grow, because I feel like a lot of people have realized that well, there's just been too many cases of like it just crashing to zero, right? Like it just, you know, the whales pull out and then all of a sudden no one's playing this anymore, you know. So a lot of people are left holding these things that are like that they bought in for like 1 or 2 ETH, and it's just like, whoa, like where did the population go?
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with, like you mentioned, you know, games being fun, and how like in the space we don't really have anything that's like full on a game yet. It's like we see in IRL, right? Like people play Fortnite or these other games as well, and it's like they're not earning anything from it, but they're still putting their money into it because they find that, you know, genuine enjoyment. They're that's something that we don't really get from the space, you know, as of yet. So
Yeah,
it's definitely good to see you guys
yeah.
are taking a stride of that.
Yeah, because fundamentally, the whole point of a game is to be able to have fun and enjoy yourself, right? So, you know, I think so far what you guys have done looks quite insane, you know. So yeah, like can you talk us through a little bit about the process of how long this took, maybe to you know, to get to where you are, where the idea came from? I actually have the demo open right now, so this is like quite insane. It looks crazy.
It took. I started actually in January, actually, and I didn't release the Twitter till like March,
You
because
mean
so
for
it took around,
BF Party as a whole?
yeah, for BF Party, because I wanted to, because I feel like I came on board with a kind of like a community already, because I previously worked on Nano. I still am, but because I'm starting out not as like nobody, I feel like I needed to put something more high quality, because I didn't kind of want to tarnish my name or my reputation by any means. So I started development in January. So it wasn't until March that I was like, okay, maybe I'm onto something here, you know? Like I have like nearly everything done already, right? Like over 50% of the project was completed. So I was like, okay, I'm at a point where I am okay with letting the public know about this thing, So I've launched. The project started in January. I've worked on it since then, and publicly launched like March 17th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, quite recently, about just over a month ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks insane, honestly, in the progress that you guys have made. I think it is not so conventional with the type of play-to-earn games that you see nowadays. I will say, personal standpoint, that it is quite unique. I do quite like the animation and how these things look. So, so essentially, maybe you guys could do kind of like, or Bushido, you could do like a little bit of a brief kind of like overview of what BF Party is. How does it work between the play to earn side and the NFT side, or what's the like the interlocking connection between them and stuff like that. Maybe for the SVS holders who are not so familiar with them.
Yeah. So the philosophy and design process for BF Party was to keep everything simple, right? Ideally, if you're selling a product, you don't want this product to come with a manual guide, right? So in a sense, you want this product that no matter who you pass it on to, they can automatically understand how it works, by, testing it out 1 or 2 times. And I feel like after playing the demo, you kind of get a feel for like what this game will be about. And like, it's not a hard game to understand by any means, right? If you play the demo 1 or 2 times, you kind of know the controls and know how this game functions, right? The full game would pretty much be like 1 or 2 layers on top of that. It would be like the multiplayer, and then it would have items, and that's it. It's realistically, it's a very simple concept of a game, and that's why you can build it very fast. Like the hard part is the art. And as for like how the P2E side works is, I've taken that simple philosophy and I've applied it to the P2E as well, right? So how essentially the P2E functions is, for this game, anybody can play this game, right? Like ideally I want it to be on the web browser. So if, let's say for example, you 2D Vamp, you're a big gamer, right? And you want to kind of introduce your Web 2 friends to a game, But every time you try to do that, they tell you to go away or fuck off because like most of the games you introduce require a very steep upfront cost, whether if it's an Ethereum or their native token, right? Because they would need to buy it in order to play the game. Or for example, they do end up buying it miraculously, and then like the staking component and then the tokenomic component, as well as like how the NFT functions in this game and how it relates to the gameplay, is way too complicated, right? Like they need to not only research the game side, but they also need to research how the tokens and crypto work, So right there and there's like a lot of friction, when you're trying to onboard new people. That's like something very hard to get past. So I wanted to keep the P2E simple. If you hold the NFT for BF Party, you automatically unlock the P2E function of it, right? Like you don't need to go through any staking, you don't need to buy anything. It just unlocks naturally in the game, right? And if you don't hold the NFT, you might not even realize like you're playing a crypto game, Let's say for example, I'm a friend of yours and I don't know anything about the NFT industry. You drop me a link because you want to play a game with me. I click on that link. I go onto the website. I use a guest account, and I'm playing the game with you. There's really no instruction manual. There's no upfront cost. It's just me and you playing a game together. That's it. It's that simple, right? And digging deeper on how the P2E actually functions is, you log in with your MetaMask, right? And that's it. The P2E functions like kind of like a whitelist for projects, right? So if you go in with your MetaMask, I already have your Ethereum address, right? What I can do on the game side is I can record what is happening in the game, right? Kind of like, and then I can record your Ethereum address when you do win a game, right? And then I can use that address and give it like a free mint on the cosmetic collection. So like the only thing you're really paying for here when you play this game is the gas to mint cosmetics. And that would be the cost of playing this game.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's also purely free to play, I guess, with some additional benefit of holding the NFT, correct, on the more Web3 side of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is yeah, that's cool. I just posted your guys' game demo in our Discord, their chat, and yeah, a lot of them really like it. They say it's a little bit difficult, but it is very smooth and it is very fun. So
Thanks,
definitely,
man. It's a good thing to hear.
yeah, you guys should definitely play the demo and check it out. I personally am a big fan of this kind of like art style, and I see it's quite like see it has quite a lot of like maybe Japanese style influence, right? Like with the city and
the influence is mostly from because I'm a big Nexon fan. Right, when I was younger, I played nearly all the Nexon games, and I take a lot of my artistic vision and game philosophy from Nixon. So like Maple Story, like Dragon's Nest, Crazy Arcade, Rumble Fighters, right? Like
yeah.
a lot of the art comes from that. I actually modeled the base model, like the base male and female model. I actually used Dragon's Nest as like an example when we were doing the modeling for it.
I see. Yeah, I can definitely see some of the influence. I think it is. I think it's super cool. So just curiously on the personal side of things, for you, Bushido. So were you always native to crypto, or like when did you first get exposed to it, and from then till now, how did you kind of go on this journey to go on and co-founding Nano, co-founding BF Party, and things like that?
No, I wasn't always into crypto. I got heavily into it. Like I wasn't actually in crypto. I actually got into NFTs first before I went into crypto. So like I actually researched NFTs before I dipped my toes into like this crypto industry. So how it started was I know Ray personally in real life, so we've been friends for like 10, 12 years, or I've lost count to be honest. So we met through university, right? And he's always been into new tech. He's like a very tech savvy kind of guy. So when NFTs rolled around at like near the peak of like the I would say like the bull season at the end of last year, like when everything was like minting out and like random things were like just 5-10xing. That's when he was like, ah, shit, I want to make a project, right? So, but he kind of needed people there. Like when you start a project, I'm sure you know that you need a lot of people to help you build things, because you need to manage payroll, you need to manage community, you need to manage like teams specific to your project. There's like a lot of management involved with
Yeah, for sure.
NFTs. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like when we first started, we started as a group of six, only
That
six
probably
people.
wasn't enough, right? You need
Yeah.
way more than 6, I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started with only six people, including the artist. And it was just kind of like we had an idea and we were like, okay, cool, this might work. We haven't seen vampires being done. I personally thought like it was all apes and cats and dogs and shit like that back then. So, vampires were a good fit, something that hasn't been done before. Mig, former Bored Ape yacht club artist, said he was down, and then we just came together, and then you know, we just came from there. And then after that, shortly, yeah, like you said, only like maybe 2 weeks in, we just realized like this was nowhere near enough. I had to start hiring tons of mods, and then so on and so forth. Full-time designer, full-time staff to work on it, because otherwise it's too much, right? I don't think it's possible at all unless you scale accordingly to the feedback that you are getting back from what you put out there, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people when they start projects, they don't realize how much admin there is, right? And I think like the higher you are in the hierarchy of the project, it's not necessarily you're doing anything nitty gritty. It's more like the more things you are doing, the higher up you are, is like a lot of admin level shit that other people don't have access to. You're pretty much like a clearance guy. You end up just being like a clearance guy. So it's like kind of interesting. But yeah,
and the amount of calls every day, I think, was something that was quite intense at first. I remember we were just doing hours and hours of calls every day from as soon as we minted out, with potential partners, collabs, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's until to this day, really, it's still the same. There's at least one call a day. We do like an AM. We've been doing a weekly AMA every Wednesday, 4 p.m. EST, since before we minted, actually. So I think that's like something that maybe some people don't take into account, that like, we go up there every week, speak to the community, and it's like, stuff like that. And then it's all at the end of the day quite like, because you have to prepare and, try to, when you put yourself out there every week, you keep trying to do as much as you can to progress as well, right? So I think that's something that people don't, I think that's something that people from the traditional industry doesn't really, they don't really get it, because things in the crypto space and the NFT space move at such a rapid pace, right? That you kind of have to always be on your toes and keep trying to keep up with it, and also keep trying to innovate, right? Because the moment you stop doing something, people just forget about you and you drop off, right? It's like it's like the entire industry has ADHD, And they can't.
I feel like more it's like this. We are like in a tech industry, right? And what tends to happen in tech industries is the person that is more innovative, or like maybe not innovative, but like the person that is first necessarily most of the time takes a majority of the market share, right? Like you want to be first, and if you're not first, you want to be a close second or a very close third, right? So like if there's any changes in the tech in the space, right, you need to know instantly, and you need to put the systems in place, and you need to shift your gear, and you need to adapt to whatever change to the tech there is, right? So I think we're starting to see like a shift of gears, right, in the space. I think a lot of projects are thinking along the lines of what I'm thinking is maybe you don't even need tokenomics, right? Like I know tokenomics is a hot thing, right? But like I think a lot of new projects that have minted out now, they realized, oh shit, we don't actually need like to release a token the moment we mint out, right? There are like much better things we do, and like releasing your tokenomics the moment you mint out is like, I think a lot of people have realized it's kind of detrimental to your project, right? Because if tokenomics is a thing that if you don't hit that nail on the head, right, it's very hard to change down the line, because once you've released this thing into the wild, right, it's no longer yours to control, that's what DeFi is all about, so I think like it's not just me that's kind of doing like shying away from tokenomics, right? Like you can see the same thing with like what Moonbirds is doing, right? Like they have staking, but they don't really have like tokens, right? Like because you just stake and then you level up your NFT, like so instead of it rewarding you with tokens, right, it rewards you with levels and more access, so I think like that kind of thinking will really like change the space in a way, like when people shy more away from tokens at the start, because like you can always release tokens down the line when you have more data and you've done more research to how people interact with your specific NFT, right? You don't need to release it straight away, I think. So I think like that might be a change down the space. We're gonna start seeing less and less tokenomics projects.
Yeah, because I think in crypto, the first mover advantage is so huge, right? Especially in the NFT space, right? And it's kind of like you said, it's first mover advantage, but you kind of have a chance still that if you're the second or third person, like if you see someone do it and they've done it well, like, okay, this idea is so good, but you can do it better, you still can have such a large market share, right? Through the first mover. And like, yeah, exactly. I think staking without releasing a token is actually really smart. Something like what Moonbirds is doing, I think they're calling it nesting, right? If I'm not wrong. Yeah, because essentially, if you release something too quick, sometimes, especially when, like you said, when you put a token out there, right, you're kind of putting it into the hands of the people rather than being able to work things at your own pace, right? Because you're giving them, something additional now to maybe worry about rather than to celebrate. So yeah, so for us, we released our staking almost immediately. It was, I think, about 2 weeks after we minted out. and we kind of just took the approach that is purely utility token. I remember back then a lot of people were really focusing on this kind of like passive income from NFT projects and staking, but for the most part, that's not sustainable at all, right? I mean, if you look at any tokenomics model, it's just not sustainable at all. It's just that, you know, you would need so much volume and then pump that volume back into just liquidity, and then you're just giving people the ability to sell, right? So that in itself is not very doable as well. You know, it's not very sustainable. So for us, we had that with our blood token, and then we kind of realized that, you know, maybe this isn't the best. So we have been, you know, but then when it comes to finding a model that works across all
you can't really find a model, right? Like
I think it's impossible, right? To
yeah,
find
it's
one
impossible.
that can
I
tick
thought about
every
this long and
box
hard
along the way. Yeah, because our blood rework, we reworked our token, but we spent so long. It was almost maybe like 2 months or so trying to find what could be the best medium of approach that would pretty much tick every collection and kind of make it accessible and happy, you know, good for the people who are already holding, and also enticing for the people to come in. So I think that's something that people don't really realize, that when you're trying to innovate and keep going and push things to a new, you know, new heights as well, you've got to think about how sustainable it is, right? Like you could easily say we're dropping a new token and we had 100 ETH in liquidity and you pump the price to you know, $100, but at the end of the day, if it's not sustainable, then other people are going to get burned anyway, right? And then you're just gonna look worse at the end of it. So
yeah, because if you look at like how a lot of people do economic trends or economic forecasts, right? Like these guys have like, if you work in the Federal Reserve, right, for example, you have access to a astronomical amount of data, right?
Yep.
And that data does not exist when your project is new. So like you can't really come out of the gate with like a really good model specific to your I guess your market, right? Because like every country has different fiscal and economic policies, you know, like projects are no different, you know, like you should tailor something specific to your project in a way that it makes sense in relation to your project, right? But right out the gate, right, your project doesn't really have data, so it's very hard for you to onboard someone that's really good at tokenomics to come up with a system, because like they don't know the direction that you want to go in with your NFT. Two, they have no fucking data. So it's like, I understand why it's like a lot of these tokenomics, they fail, because it's very hard to start up, you know? And like once you start, it's very hard to change.
Yes, and you won't know till you start, right? And if you don't start, you won't know, you won't get any data back, right? As well. So it's kind of like, you know, you don't, especially when you see so many, like back then, everyone was just kind of like, okay, mint out and then release staking and then release a token. But then what's the plan for that for most of them, right? Also, Thrall says, tell this guy, he says, Jesus, this guy's smart. So Bushido, you have a new fan, you know, from
Bro,
Mr.
my brain
Thrall.
isn't functioning properly right now. I'm like,
too early in the morning.
Just got out of bed. The coffee's not even in my system yet.
Yes. So I do agree. You know, I think at the end of the day, people don't understand that a lot of these things that are happening in crypto and pretty much the NFT space in general is that like there's no precedent for a lot of this stuff, right? That's happened across the last 1 year. It was just kind of people who were willing to take a stab in the dark and take a shot, and then it worked out for some, it didn't work out for the other. But people don't. I think something that people don't realize is that if something didn't work out, to kind of like backtrack it and try to adjust it is very difficult, right? So, you know, it's something that we've been working on for a long time. So at least I can proudly say that after a while, we found like a happy medium. So we're taking a different approach going forward. Like we'll be unstaking, and then we're going to be switching over to passive staking and stuff like that. But, you know, we've had a token out for a long time. So for us personally, we just took the approach of kind of making it like a utility token. So essentially, we have this thing called a blood shop. So one of the things that you can do, like when you stake SVS, soon it'll be passive staking. You get blood every day, and then you can use that to like enter raffles or actually buy real life stuff through the blood shop. So it's like gift cards, you know, whitelist spots, whitelist giveaways, and you know, and soon we'll have some auctions as well. So you know. I'm not sure how soon that will be up. Cough, cough, ready developer. But yes, you know, as soon as that's up, you never know. So it could be as simple as like, okay, like BF Party is giving us a couple of whitelist spots, and we could put some up for auction. So I think like, that kind of rewards people who also support the community the longest, because then the more they support it, the more tokens they'll have anyway, right? Through staking.
The diamond
right?
handers.
The diamond handers, yeah. So the idea is that at least it's the ability to give back a little bit, right?
Yeah, I fully agree with that approach. Yeah. I think sorry, go on. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. I was just gonna say yeah, that's it, the whole passive income phase from staking. I'm glad to see that it has passed along now. And not many people are focusing on that, because that seems like it just leads to people getting hurt, and it's not very sustainable at all in the long run, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I came from like a more business background, right? Like my entire life has just been because I graduated finance accounting, and then after that I worked on small startups, and then after that I moved to kind of like funds, and then I ended up working for a massive bank in like the mortgage sector. So it's like I kind of know like what a big company should look like and what a small company should look like, right? And for NFTs, when they finish minting, right, the first thing that I feel like a lot of them should be doing is generating like a demand for the NFT, whether it's through like what Azuki's doing, like it's like a lifestyle brand, or like generating a demand through like a utility that is native only to this NFT, right? Like you need to generate that demand side first before you release tokenomics, I feel, So you can kind of see it's not just BFP doing this. Like we kind of took that approach with Nano as well, right? Like I'm pretty sure we were the first, if not one of the first, to release like a marketplace for people to buy whitelist. Because like I'm trying to think of someone who did it faster than us.
You mean I'm not sure about who did it faster, but there's a couple of people that do it nowadays, right? I know.
Yeah, it's like
Llama
just started that trend,
right?
Yeah, no, we were definitely. I think we were
before.
Yeah, I think we were before, because like we released the PXN whitelist to the Nano community, and like we had like 2,000 or something, and like they instantly got snapped up. Because like we finished
some people
minting
camp it, right, and then they buy it as soon as it gets released, right?
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is like because we have access to the data, right? We know what's going on, how much people are holding, right? So we adjusted the amount so like it wouldn't be snapped up so fast. But what these guys actually went and did is like they started trading amongst themselves. So like they would buy like fragments, right? So like we have these tokens called fragments. People would actually go out into the Discord and they would buy fragments for like so for PXN it was like 100 fragments for one PXN whitelist, right? They would go out and they would spend 1 ETH or 1.2 ETH, and they would straight up just buy like a nano pass and then buy 100 fragments, and then they would just like camp the marketplace. It was actually pretty fucking crazy. We were like, wait, what the fuck? How did this guy like he's only been holding this pass for like a week, how does he have the frags to do this? Like they actually like just straight up buying the frags off people in Discord.
Yeah, they gamed it, right? Like, I think that's what's one of the big things about this space. People just move so quick. They always find a way, they always find a way to, kind of like, put themselves at an advantage, right? To say,
we were kind of okay with that though. Like, cause if they're selling their frags, that means like, even though you diamond-handed a project, right, you might not have anything you want in the marketplace, but because the marketplace exists, it provides utility to your project, right? And because it provides utility, it actually allows the people that are holding it to choose whether, okay, maybe this is a whitelist I don't want, but it also gives me that marketplace for me to sell the fragments, So it's like kind of like that utility first kind of approach.
Yeah, I guess it's like even if they didn't directly derive the value from them, they found value in them. You gave back to them, right? you're giving back to the holders, and in one way or another, they're finding that value. So I mean, it's a win-win for, I guess, both parties, right?
Yeah, I think a few of the people that hold like a ton of passes, they ended up making a lot of the tokens, right? Because like of how hyped PXN was. Like, I think
do you
one
think
guy
that's
made like,
yeah, what did he make?
I think he made like, there was one guy, he made like 5 to 10 ETH just selling like fragments. It was like fucking crazy.
Yeah, you know, it's nice to see that through something that you guys created, you could have, you know, had such a positive impact on other people, right? So do you think like I know you come from a professional background, right? So you said you studied what was it, accounting and finance?
Yeah.
Did you
I
work in
actually
that
hated
field at
accounting.
all?
I worked in finance. I hated accounting. I knew when I started accounting, I didn't want to be an accountant. Like, that thing is, I hate everything regarding accounting, like just the way it functions.
So how long did you spend in the traditional working world then?
I
Was
would
it
say
very long or
4
not?
years, 4 to 5 years.
Okay. I'm happy to have left it, I see.
Yeah, because it got to the point where like if you're working on like a new project, right? Because I worked on kind of garage projects, right?
Yeah.
I actually met one of the fund managers the moment I got out of university. So he's the main fund manager for Pathfinder Assets, and he started up like a garage project that I joined, and that was pretty fucking fun. That was pretty fun, but it didn't pay well, right? So it's like, I feel like for Web 2, like if you work on something fun, right, and exciting and new, you know, and it's like a small team and you're doing a lot of things, you're learning a lot, the pay normally is not very good, you know. But if you want good pay, then that means you're working for a big company, and it is fucking boring. Like, my mortgage job was like the most boring shit I've ever experienced. I would
Yeah,
like
and it's also the
take
hours are
naps.
insane as well, right?
New Zealand laws regarding like overtime is kind of quite. It's very progressive because our union is kind of strong here, but like it was just so boring. I would like sneak off and go take naps because I was like bored out of my mind.
Okay, New Zealand. Yeah, I spent 8 years in Australia actually, so pretty close that part of the world. So yeah, it is a little bit slower pace of life over there, I would say. Um, you know, it's good. I guess you work remotely now, right? So it is positive. I came from a professional background as well. I studied law, was a lawyer for a little bit in the year, and then here we are, you know, on this tourist basis.
How did you get started? Were you always into crypto? Or?
I've been in crypto since 2016, I think. Yeah, about early 2016. I was a uni student. I was studying in England. Took all my life savings and money that my parents gave me to study for food and shit, and put it all in, and then lost it all. I think I remember the coin. It's a lot of coins from way back in the day that all
They're
got
just
robbed,
pump
I
and dumps,
think.
right? Like most of those
Yeah,
like
back in the
coin
day.
IP, yeah.
Yeah, because back in the day, it's not as much volume, right? It just feels like people were trading against each other, kind of smaller circle, rather than we don't really have the so to say liquidity from retail market, right? Back in the day, this is like 6 years ago. So after that, I nuked everything to zero. Finished uni, finished school, quit crypto completely from 2018 all the way to January 2021, and then I just came back. And then slowly, you know, I basically like the guys. I've known the guys at SVS for quite a while, so we know each other for a while, and then we just thought that it would be cool, you know, to give something a go. You know, we just saw NFTs taking off. We were quite a fan. You know, we were buying some NFTs here and there, and then we were like, you know, maybe we should just try our own thing. And then next thing you know, here we are. So I guess something that I would like to always tell people is, if you never try, you never know, right? Because
Yeah,
especially when you have
I
other
think
people in this space, right?
yeah, I think like your road to success is a very good story, you know, because like you've definitely failed, right, in the past, you know, but it didn't matter because you kept trying, you know.
Yeah, for
I
sure. Like I
think
think you have to experience some sort of failure. It'll definitely get you in this space, right?
yeah, I don't think it's just in the space. I think like in life in general, right? Like if you're not willing to roll the dice in your own personal life, you're never going to go nowhere, you know? Like, you need to risk things, you know, I feel. And I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly.
in your lifespan, you probably have like 5 to 10 windows of golden opportunity, right? I feel. And like when these opportunities pass you, it's very rarely that they come back, right? So for example, let's say we grew up in the 80s, right? Then that would be like the .com bubble was like a massive opportunity, and like real estate was a massive opportunity. Just the stock market in general was like a massive opportunity, right? Like, so that was the opportunity for like kind of our fathers in a sense. I think for the younger generation, it's crypto. Like, crypto is this massive opportunity that like young people can go into, you know. But you have to be willing to risk it and roll the dice, you know, because if you don't, then nothing's gonna change.
Yeah, for sure. So like in January 2021, when I came back, I put all my money in. I used to buy and sell, collect Pokemon cards. I sold them off, and then I put all of my money into crypto, and then kind of ran it from there. So my parents, my girlfriend, some of my friends were, you know, shout out my girlfriend. She's been with me for a long time, always supported me, you know. So a lot of them, they told me that this was kind of like a bit insane, right? You're in your mid-20s, you're putting all your money in, just finished school. And I was like, you know, at the end of the day, to be like brief, you know, if you're in your 20s, still living at home. Um, both my parents are alive, so it's worth the risk, right? Like you said, you have a small window of opportunity sometimes where you
Yeah.
can see that, like, it was January 2021, right? So things are just starting to kick off again. You start hearing about crypto in the public news. So I was like, oh, you know, maybe this is it, right? Like, this is the chance. Like, worst case scenario, I have a degree, you know, I have a degree, so I can always fall back and work as a professional, right? I lived in England for a while, lived in Australia for a while, so I was like, okay, then if this doesn't work out, then I'll just go back to working a normal job, you know?
Yeah, like my banking job will always be there, whether I succeed or fail in this space, you know. Like I
Yeah,
can
that's how
always
it
go back
feels
to
like.
banking, you know. I don't
Yeah,
want
that's what
to,
it's for,
but
right? It's a safety net, right? At the end of the
yeah,
day.
it is.
Yeah, so I just said, you know what? Just take the risk and see where you end up, right? Because at the end of the day, if you never try, you never know, you know? You've heard stories of people who started with small sums in this space, you know? Kobe is a good example, right? I'm sure many of you guys know. Um, in crypto, he also started with almost no money and became a billionaire. 2D is definitely not a billionaire, but yes, you know, the idea is that you always never try, never know, right? So I think that was the best advice that I could kind of give anyone in this space, especially if you're at an age where it's kind of a little bit more practical, right? Although I feel these days the amount of some of the most talented people in crypto and NFT space are actually so young. Some of them are even like, you know, 18, 19, 21, 22. So, and it's insane that some of these huge projects, right, can be kind of like modeled after a big company, traditional company, and then they're run by, you know, people of youth who have managed to step up to the task and, you know, fulfill the obligation.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with that a lot. I think like business in a sense is a form of art, right? It's like an art of efficiency and effectiveness. So like it's no surprise to me that small projects, right, when they do make it big, they're gonna model themselves after big companies. I think you need to do that, right? Like, because if you don't, it just gets so messy. Like if you have no hierarchy in your project, it gets super messy.
Yeah, like if some people don't have any staff at all and just want to do
Yeah.
something with everything themselves because maybe they feel they make more money that way and they don't want to have payroll or pay people, then you're going to find out that, you know, at the end of the day, there's a reason why these successful businesses are successful, right? Because they have a model that works. And, you know, running a crypto project is essentially just like running a traditional business, except you don't have a physical aspect to worry about for most projects, right? So definitely, I think that is, you know, something that maybe some people don't realize who are on the other end of the, like, you know, the view, right, of how NFT projects work. So, like for you, definitely you would see that a lot, right? You know, co-founding Nano, be a party, being part of PXN. So I'm sure you've, you know, had a lot of exposure,
Just on
although
that
you're a
note,
short
I
time.
want to make it clear on that note. I'm not working on PXN. I am not working on
Ah,
PXN.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
He's just co-founder of Nano and BF Party, right?
Yeah. I don't think I would have time, to be honest, personally, because PXN is in its infancy, right? Like they haven't minted yet, and that's when like you have a small amount of staff, right? It's only after you mint you're able to bring on more specialized people to lead a specific field. It's like for Nano, a lot of the management was done by the founders themselves, right? We didn't really have PAs, we didn't really have like any directors, everything was in-house, but like after you have the money, you can kind of delegate the management tasks to people that are more suited, right? So for example, right, it made no sense for Ray to kind of lead the development side, like the coding side of AI, right? Like he can set the general vision and the general tone, right? But there are much more qualified people that understand AI, the nitty-gritty side, to lead that team, So like it didn't make sense for us to like get Ray to use up all his time leading like our AI team,
Yeah, same for us. Before Mint, we headed everything ourselves, especially, we all work on SVS full time, even now. But I remember before Mint, it was like every single aspect of every nook and cranny of the project is looked at and headed and handled by the core team, and it's essentially just the founders, right?
Yeah, you're like, it was more like, because that's like the Kickstarter time, right? That's like when you're working in a garage project. It's just you and the boys in the garage every day sweating it out,
Yeah, because you don't know what the outcome's going to be like, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So I remember back then it was like 16 hours a day working on Discord all day. But, I think that in itself is part of the whole experience, right? So, yeah, at the end of the day, and then when you see something come to fruition, especially, I personally think it's such a special feeling, especially when, you kind of like, I think that's what is so cool about crypto. A lot of these, projects, quote unquote, which run as businesses that go on to be so successful can be formed from people who just started out as friends, who wanted to try something cool. And then they can just be like, they could grow something to scale like that together just from being normal friends and go all the way like that, I think that's what makes this space so special because, especially when kids or younger people have exposure to something like this, they can really go leaps and bounds with it.
They learn really fast. I've realized that people in the space, like, they're very quick on their feet and they learn very fast. It's like, I feel like that's the reason why the space moves so fast. It's because a lot of people are willing to change, right? If something doesn't make sense to them, and then they look at another project, right, and they're like, whoa, like Moonbirds is doing this like staking but no token kind of thing, I feel like a lot of people will copy that, because it's just a better system than tokenomics, like you sure they're staking, but then they haven't released tokens yet, but they're still providing the rewards that come traditionally with staking and tokens, I feel like a lot of people see that and then they would suit that kind of model to their project, right? Like kind of tailor it a bit, but like the general idea is there. And I feel like that's why the space is so innovative and moves so fast, right? But the same can't be said for Web2 big companies, right? Because I'm sure you've worked in a professional setting. Is Web2 has a lot of fucking red tape. There's a lot of meetings that just don't make any sense, like in order to make one change, you need approval across like 2 to 3 different teams, and then you need to get legal involved, and then they'll sit down and consult you on why, like, oh, you can do this but you can't do that, this is illegal, this puts us at potential risk, blah blah blah. So I think like there's a reason why NFTs projects, they move so fast and they're so innovative. It's because like we have the ability to just change on the fly. Like today we wanted to do this, tomorrow someone came up with something better, we can instantly model their system to us, but like for big companies that's not possible, because I'm sure you have had talks with, because you've done collabs with like big companies like Paramount, right? Like just the paperwork alone took you probably like 2 weeks,
Yeah, I think our total time talking with them and planning everything was at least 2 months, at least 7 weeks, just to get everything, formalized and back and forth, what's okay, what's not okay. You have a call with them, and they can't tell you on on the spot whether it is or it's not okay as well. They need to go, okay, no worries, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We'll take it back. We'll discuss internally, and then we'll send you an email. And it's like, damn, you know. But it feels like when in NFT space or crypto space, when there's not as many, like there's no, like you said, there's no red tape, you know. You can just go the whole way. You feel like doing something today, your founders agree amongst each other, cool. You don't have to run it by any board or any law, stuff like that. You can just go and go and go. So definitely, you know, I think that's something that maybe people don't see when it comes to, like, they're like, oh, cool, you know, partner with this person, that person, this person. It's like, yeah, but dude, like, you know, so we were like, the big one we had as well was we partnered with Coinbase, right, for one of the first collections for their launch, and that in itself was 3 months between actually first talking and then getting the announcement out, you know. And people will always like, when Coinbase, but it's like, yeah, we know, but we can't say anything, right? The moment you say something, they're gonna kill you immediately. So, you know, it's when you work with these big companies, it's a little bit different. Oh, yeah, it's already been an hour actually, Bushido. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. Do we want to open question to the floor, or are we running out of time?
We can do like 10 minutes of questions if anyone wants to put their hands up. If not, I think Ryan, you can pull some questions up from the tweet, maybe, right? If he's here. Let me see if anyone put their hands up. I see one request. I think, Ryan, are you here? Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, sorry, I missed that.
I just said if we can just pull a couple of questions up from the tweet for Bushido, and then we can close it off in the next 10 minutes or so. That sounds good with you, Bushido?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Yeah, there were quite a few good questions under our tweet we posted yesterday, so I thought it'd be good to get at least a couple of them in at the end. The first one was from Ark Saber, who says, I noticed you've been saying BFP will be integrated further into Nanoverse. Do you have any more insights on how this might work?
I think on AMAs have been quite clear that integration is something that needs to come when projects are more mature, right? Because like in its infancy, it's very hard to integrate different projects together. But what we can do is we can build, we now essentially have 3 different projects we can build like the lore and storyline for, right? And we can structure them in a way where they're very flexible and compatible with other projects. So what we can do is we can set a strong foundation for all these projects, right? So when they do make it big, which I personally believe that all of Nano's projects will do well, then at that point, then it's like, dude, you have utility coming from 3 different projects. This is like something that no one has ever done in this space, you know. Very rarely do you see projects mint out and then have another hit, you know. Most of the times it's like they'll mint something out, you know, and then the founders will kind of disappear, pop up like 1 or 2 months later under a different alias, and then mint another PFP project, you know. Like no one's in the space has really thought about things long term in the terms of like what's going to happen 1 or 2 years down the line. And that's kind of what we're thinking, like if we build these projects into like projects with very, very strong foundations, then it opens up like a lot of different doorways that has never been seen in the space before.
Yeah, and that's what you guys have almost done best as well, that you've been able to set those foundations to be able to launch these projects. I know I've seen on your website that you always wanted to, you know, launch your own game since before even with Nano. So it's just part of the footsteps that you've put in place with such a solid team.
Yeah. My founding members are like they're pretty cracked. Like they work like, I know Yuri works like 15 hours a day, like pre-mint and post-mint. Same with like Kura.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
we're willing to kind of like give up 1 or 2 years of our lives to build like a fucking empire.
Another question
It's
I've seen
essentially
as
the
well.
same for us. Oh, sorry, Ryan. Yeah, you know, we've been there, you know, we've all been there 15, 16 hours of working days, but it's all for the cause at the end of the day, you know. Give your time and then you can get it back.
Yeah, another question I seen as well was, what is your plan to incorporate new additions or ideas to maintain the longevity and long-term interest of the game? It seems that this can be a problem with a lot of P2E games further down the line.
I think it's a problem for a lot of P2E games, right? Because as I touched earlier, most of these P2E games, they're not really games. They're like a sugar-coated DeFi system, you know? There's no essential gameplay there, you know? So like, let's say, for example, if you look at what happens in traditional gaming is they have seasons, right? And then with every seasons, they kind of update it, and then they come out with like whether it's like a new, like a change to the map, or it's like a change to the items, you know, or they put certain rotations out, or they add in like new skins. But like for a lot of these P2E projects, they're not, their foundation isn't structured like that, because they're not structured as a game to begin with, right? So like the foundation for gaming isn't there. So it's very hard for them to push out like quarterly updates, you know, or like release a new mode.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you mentioned it before, I started playing the demo on your website, and as you say, it's so easy that, and I think that's one of the best parts, where any of your friends who aren't even crypto native, you can just tell them to hop on, and whether you're on the P2E part yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be able to play alongside you, which I think is a great part about the BF party being so accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I call that the grandma test, you know, like, if I pass this thing to my grandma, can she function this, you know? If she can, I've succeeded.
And then one of the final questions, which I think is probably a good one to end it up on, is when is the SVS X BFP game night? We started doing game nights within the SVS Discord, and I think we can definitely, even if it's just starting off with the demo, put something in to get people, get the SVS and the BF party communities hyped.
That sounds pretty cool, actually. I think Migsy would be willing to help me out there on the organization. Migsy?
She has demoted herself to a listener before we came on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't know.
She knew that question.
Sorry, and then she said, you know, I shall let Bushido do the talking today, and then she went back down. So I think we can speak on her behalf that we'll get a Discord group going, and then we'll try to organize a game night going on between SVS, and we'll use the BF party demo game then.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good fun for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So on that note, I think I just want to thank you, Bushido BF Party, for coming on and coming on the spaces and speaking with us. It was really enjoyable. I had a good time, good chat. It's definitely more of like a just get to know each other. A little bit of like a podcast, chat, hang out kind of thing. And it was good fun. And most of the people that I've been reading the chat this whole time they enjoyed it as well. So for all of you guys from our community and the other communities, it's great to meet you guys. Great to speak with Bushido, and as always, it was enjoyable. Is there anything you want to say before we close it off, my friend?
I'm bad at goodbyes. I guess like thanks for listening. Join on for an hour. If you want to keep updated, follow the main Twitter, and I think that would be it. Thanks for listening.
No worries. Thanks for coming on.